Hello everybody, welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I also publish on Rumble and I'm all this social stuff, links in the description for extra support and all that things there. Okay, not a lot to go through, but some interesting stuff. I saw this that supposedly HYPR-RX from AMD should launch in June. This is basically like kind of software package that it's like a all-in-one solution to a certain degree, which is as like the boost stuff and anti-lag, which kind of it's the same thing that reflects from NVIDIA and boost for frame rates and everything. It's kind of a thing that just one click and go supposedly to increase performance on gaming. Basically, it's what it is. For all intents and purposes, I don't think it was launched. And when they launched the 7900s GPUs, they said they will be coming in the first half of the year. So we only have this month. Supposedly, it will come this month, but nothing sure of it. I don't know. They're not been giving a lot of info regarding a lot of stuff, especially I forgot what it is. Yeah, the main thing from this one, I don't know if it's going to be very useful. If you know how to go around the AMD Adrenaline software, I think it's more about like low-end GPUs, and because they didn't only launch the 7600 GPUs, I don't know if it has something to do with it. But yeah, the Super Resolution 3.0, we didn't have any more news regarding that. That's the one thing that I was trying to remember. The FSR 3.0, I don't know, because if they are having issues with that, because don't forget, this is like frame generation stuff, so fake frames, and supposedly how they're going about it, it's kind of different. I think they don't want to put AI generation on the frames here, so I don't know how they're going to resolve the issue, because basically what the AI is trying to guess what the frame should be, while this is like kind of a brute force way of doing the thing. So I think the GPU has to process the two frames that should go and then interpolate. I think it can be 1 to 4 frames from the software. It's a rumor. That's why we don't have any info. So it's a rumor. If you can get like almost 4 frames interpolated between 2 real frames. I don't know. It's not a technology that interests me too much. It can be useful in very specific scenarios like single-player games where you don't need a lot of like less lag on the input controls. But yeah, it's a very specific case, at least in my opinion. But yeah, we should have news this month, at least for HYPR-RX stuff. We will see how it goes. But maintaining with the CPU, with the AMD thing, supposedly there is like driver for chipsets. And supposedly it come out on the highlights. That is the 1745HX, which is like an APU. It's this one. I think it's for the like higher level. A lot of people saying that, oh, maybe it's a mistake. I don't think so, because there is a lot of I think there is a lot of uses for this kind of APU in desktop, because this is like the desktop stuff here. Mainly like for example, you can put like in a small motherboard or in like SoCs integrated things for businesses and everything, and even like manufacturing plants and everything. They don't need like high-end GPUs to just look at a monitor. I think it might serve this kind of use cases. So I don't know. It's just a quinky dink. I don't know. But yeah, for the 7000X series also has support the chipset driver for the CPU's desktops. We got something on Intel Innovation 2023, kind of a showcase thing. Supposedly it's going to September 29. My main curiosity about this, of course, they're probably going to announce the refresh on 13 Gen Core, the K things, which is it's so confusing even for me. The Intel stuff, how they're going about it. They every year they launch I don't know how many CPUs. I don't know. It's a lot of confusing, and they are very power hungry, even though they are very good in terms of performance, but they are too much power hungry. And with that comes like cooling solutions. You have to be more careful choosing your cooling solution. Yeah, it's at the moment I prefer AMD in the fact that they have like they are less power hungry and can basically do the same kind of performance even in high-end CPUs. The most thing I'm most curious about is the roadmap for their GPU stuff, because we didn't have like any updates. The updates that we have is basically the last roadmap that almost like a year ago that they give us some information regarding that. There is a big gap between Alchemist and Battle Mage. We don't know if they're going to try to do like a refresh in the middle, because we only going to get I think second or third quarter or a half, the second half of 2024. It's a lot of time without GPUs, mainly because AMD and Nvidia already launched their 40s and their 77,000 series GPUs, and Intel didn't respond with anything like a kind of refresh to give like a bigger boost on performance, like I don't know, 20% performance boost on this Alchemist Plus, because if they're trying to achieve with Battle Mage at least, or I don't know if it is on the high end or on kind of a middle road, trying to get like 4080 performance wise. I think it's more about their top end, at least 4080 performance. We got a lot of performance gap between what they have now with the 770 16 gigabytes to a 4080. It's a lot of performance gap. I think they could try to get like a refresh. We don't know. I don't know if they're going to announce something in this time or before. I don't know, or if when they announce, they will have like it's ready to pre-order or something like that. I don't know. It's the most thing that I'm most curious about. It's their GPU stuff, because we really good competition and cheaper GPUs that perform well. We got here one of the things that caught my attention, because I saw this a little bit. I managed to cover this kind of thing of inverted connectors on motherboards, an article like 1 month ago or something like that. I think it was an MSI one. I think it's the one they show up here. But yeah, it's not only MSI. I think ASUS and Gigabyte are also going try to get this kind of implemented per se. The main thing that I managed to get when I first see this like a few months ago, like a couple of months, it was like the challenge on the case design, because for example lower end cases don't usually have this kind of layout to support the inverted connections on the motherboards. Mainly, I think for example MSI doesn't have like at the moment in the market a case that supports this kind of inverted motherboard. But yeah, a lot of high-end cases have this kind of perforation that is compatible with this. But we should see some more stuff coming out in terms of cases, so we can have, because Corsair, for example, already has this thing with a power supply which is more accessible, and when you design this you have to pay attention that you have more depth on the case itself, so the cables don't bend too much. And of course even here you have to have in consideration that the cables now come out in the back side of the cable of the case, instead of the front. So because when you have on the front you have a lot of space to go around, and while in the back, if you don't have like extra space, it's going to be very tricky to to route your cables. But yeah, it's good to see this kind of thing. Of course the battle of the cables also includes this thing with Corsair stuff, the IQ Link stuff, which is like less cables, and now they have also fans that connect between each other without cables. it's interesting to see, mainly because it's more about the telemetry and people that like RGB, how they can go about it. So it's less one cable usually. With the cables with RGB, you have the controllers for RGB, so it's more extra cables, and this supposedly starts to eliminate a lot of the cables needed for you to set up your system, because it's a pain in the ass to route around a lot of cables. My first PC that I assembled, it still had like the PETA cables, which is like the floppy ones and the ribbon ones, huge for the CD-ROMs and for the HDDs that used like PETA connections. It was a pain in the ass to connect all these things with and get like decent airflows. But yeah, it's kind of more streamlined. It's good visually. For me, I personally, I just like a case that doesn't have like a glass, because I don't like to show off stuff, because it's for me to use the PC and not to show off. While it's very interesting, it's like exotic cars. It's very good to see, but it doesn't mean that I want to drive one every day. But yeah, it's good to see that at least they are going about trying to solve this in some way, especially Corsair, which had that thing with the IQ Link stuff. But yeah, it's one of the trends that caught my eye. And of course, a lot of new cases, kind of designs they go about it. We are starting to see like the assemble yourself cases, which is like flat pack, and then you assemble like a Lego style stuff. It's very interesting to see this kind of trends, and it is something that it's coming or around till the end of the year or just next year. It's not like concept designs that may be coming from like 2 or 3 years down the road. But yeah, good article. Of course, everything I'll be speaking about, I have links in the description. There is now gaming news we got here from Frextra Live. Front Mission First. It's like a Switch game. It's kind of a tactical RPG coming to consoles and PC also. I don't really know much about this game, but it's a tactical RPG with mechs. It's always good to see, and I think it's turn-based, if not mistaken. I think it's turn-based. I think it is. Usually tactical RPGs, and especially if it was for Switch, I don't know, like real-time strategy, I don't know if it works that well for a console to go around these kind of things. And while we are in Frextra Life, as you can see, we've got a lot of guides here for Diablo 4 if you are playing the game. I really do recommend them. They are independent reviewers, they are independent, they do all their guides, wikis, and do a lot of great reviews, and they have always good, interesting news that they cover around. And they have like the thing for VIP program and everything if you like it. In other news, we got a patch for Hogwarts Legacy. Supposedly it will stop or at least minimizes transversal stuttering, and supposedly the VRAM memory leaking issue has been resolved, so this means like lower end GPUs with less VRAM. It's optimized to a point that if the game will not try to load more things that the VRAM of the GPU can handle. You can get less performance, but there is a lot of the low end have this kind of memory leaking issue, which brings huge stuttering, because supposedly the information doesn't go to the VRAM, it goes to the RAM of the system, then it's got callback that information, and that got a lot of delays, so a lot of stuttering happening. And of course the usual stuff, UI fixes, performance improvements and everything. But yeah, it's good to see that they're working to do this, even though this basically shouldn't happen on the launch. The same thing I will say with The Last of Us and the Resident Evil 4 and all of these games that have been launching. They shouldn't have this kind of huge issues in terms of performance. Bugs like UI bugs and all these things, I can tolerate that, but like performance stuff, it should be smoothed out. Of course, there is always a skew that people have at home that will not going to work very well with the game, but in terms of overall performance in main kind of things that in terms of hardware should not happen. got a good featurette, like behind the scenes stuff with Alan Wake 2. It's kind of coming around this new character, Saga Anderson, which is like an FBI agent. Pretty interesting. I don't know why this is. There is. Let me refresh, because I saw this on YouTube, I suppose. Yeah, it's still here. Very interesting on trying to integrate this character on the story itself. But yeah, it's good. You can see a little bit more of the game and get to know a little bit more maybe on the game itself, Bright Falls and everything. We got here, I saw this, like Capcom is asking players regarding the next Resident Evil remake should be. There is a link on the public survey, so you can choose whatever you want. Even you can choose again Resident Evil 4 if you want to get another remake. But yeah, it's like a public survey. It just asks gamers, like usually it's what's the experiencing be with their platform, the Capcom ID, or the games itself. And one of the questions is what you think should have the next remake, like Resident Evil 5's 6 or Code Veronica. I think it wasn't made. So it's your chance to get your voices heard, and I'm sure they'll be listening, because they've been doing good on the Resident Evil remakes, at least in terms of visual and graphical upgrades, and they've been very good on improving on areas that the older games were not that good. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up with some gaming deals. We got System Shock. It's not a deal, but it's launched like 2 days ago. Very good game, very faithful to the remake, with a lot of upgrades and everything regarding graphics wise. But yeah, it's very good, and I will recommend, because the reviews that I watched there, it's trustful people that did the review. We got still the 50% off of Dying Light 2, 50% and 30% on the Ultimate Edition. It's around $70 from all they have a lot of content here. They are very good on maintaining content and improvements on the games itself, and like new modes and challenges. They are very good, and they have like a lot of events also happening since the launch. We got on GOG like mix and match stuff here. It's until some of them is like 90% off. We got, for example, Fear. It's a decent one, first-person shooter. Mad Max is not a bad game per se, especially at this price point, $5. The Suffering, I know I saw some. It's an older game. It's kind of gory, but yeah, $2.5 Hard West. I tried to start to make a gameplay series on this, but I quit because I left my country. Which ones? You got Batman Arkham Asylum, like $5. It's the Game of the Year edition. Got more Fear games, and what else? Suffering, already saw this. Werewolf, I don't know if you like this kind of game. Sarsis, it's like a turn-based with like dice stuff, so a little bit luck there. But yeah, some interesting games here if you like it. And I've got also the Firewatch, $5. It's a good, excellent game in terms of narrative. It's a short experience per se, but it's a very good game in terms of narrative experiences. This is it for today. I'm going to wrap up in Michael GetFundMe for today, so I can upgrade my PC to get better, more content for my private clients, and start doing some video stuff for them. And in my free spare time, do it in daily videos with a better quality, do some scripted content also in some subjects that I like to do, some deep dives, resume my gameplays, and possibly doing some live streams in the near future also. And with all that said, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. So till then, Kunamy Master out.